All right, you greasy bastards, get ready for some serious ass kicking.
Yeah, we're diving deep into the world of wrestling, man.
From caveman brawls to pile drivers and all that fake ass drama.
That's right. It's a wild ride, and we're going to break it all down for you.
We're talking history, techniques, the legends, the bullshit, and everything in between.
So strap in, crack a beer, and get ready to rumble.
You knuckleheads requested a deep dive into wrestling, so here we go.
And trust me, it's going to be a wild one.
Wrestling's old as shit, right?
Older than your grandma's saggy tits.
We're talking cave paintings in France, 15,000 to 17,000 years old.
Those hairy bastards were already figuring out how to get a leg up, literally.
So those cave paintings show actual wrestling moves, right?
Yeah, some of the holds they're using are still around today.
Shit, it's mind-blowing how some of those techniques have survived for so long.
And it's not just France, man. Ancient Egypt, too.
What, like those fancy hieroglyphics?
Yeah, those tomb illustrations show holes that we still use today.
So basically, humans have been obsessed with twisting each other into pretzels since forever.
It's like a primal urge to dominate, to prove your strength.
And no one did it better than those ancient Greeks.
Those guys were fucking animals.
Wrestling was a huge part of the Olympics back then, and it was brutal as hell.
No rules, no pads, just pure ass kicking.
So it was basically like a fight to the death.
Pretty much. It wasn't until the Romans came along that they decided to add some rules, tone things down a bit.
Damn, those Romans were always trying to civilize everything.
Yeah, they were all about order and discipline, but even they couldn't resist the allure of a good wrestling match.
So wrestling was like the ancient version of the Super Bowl.
Bigger than that, it was woven into the fabric of their culture.
And get this, some of the biggest wrestling fans were philosophers like Plato and Socrates.
Even that stoic badass Marcus Aurelius was a wrestling enthusiast.
It's crazy to think those brainiacs were into such a brutal sport.
But it wasn't just about brute force. They saw wrestling as a way to train both the body and the mind.
So it was like a philosophical workout.
Exactly. They believed that a strong mind and a strong body were inseparable, and wrestling was a way to cultivate both.
Deep shit, man.
And it wasn't just a Western thing either. Wrestling is a global phenomenon found in almost every culture.
So it's like the universal language of ass kicking.
You got it. It's a way to test your strength, your skill, and your will against another human being.
All right, let's get into some of those crazy-ass wrestling styles from around the world. What's the weirdest shit you've seen?
Well, you've got your oil wrestling in Turkey. Those guys douse themselves in olive oil before grappling.
Sounds slippery as hell.
It is, but those dudes are strong as fuck. They can still toss each other around like rag dolls.
So we've got Greasy Turks, and then there's Shuaijiao from China.
That one's over 4,000 years old, and it was supposedly used by the Yellow Emperor himself in battle.
Imagine a goddamn emperor taking down his enemies with wrestling moves. That's badass.
And then you've got Puroresu in Japan.
Is that the one with all the crazy high-flying moves?
Nah, Puroresu is more sport-focused, very realistic.
So no bullshit, just pure ass kicking.
Pretty much. And then, of course, you have Lucha Libre in Mexico, which is all about the spectacle.
That's the one with the masks and the crazy costumes, right?
Yeah, Lucha Libre is like a mix of wrestling, theater, and a goddamn circus.
It's like wrestling on acid.
You could say that. It's a wild ride, but it's definitely entertaining.
All right, let's bring it back to the wrestling we see today.
You've got your Olympic styles, Greco-Roman freestyle, and women's freestyle.
What's the difference between those? They all look kind of similar to me.
Well, Greco-Roman is all upper body. You can't use your legs for attacks.
So it's like wrestling with a dress code. No legs allowed below the waist, gentlemen.
Yeah, something like that. Freestyle is more open. You can use your legs for offense and defense.
Ah, so freestyle's where you can let those limbs fly.
Exactly. And women's freestyle is the same as men's, but for, well, women.
It's about damn time.
The goal in all three Olympic styles is to get a pin, which is when you hold your opponent's shoulders to the mat for a certain amount of time.
So it's not just about beating the crap out of each other. There's strategy involved, too.
Big time. Wrestling is as much about technique and leverage as it is about strength and aggression.
And let's not forget about submission wrestling.
That's where things get really nasty.
Yeah, those guys are trying to break each other's limbs.
Basically, it's all about joint locks and chokes, making your opponent tap out.
So you can choose your flavor of pain, get pinned, or get your arm snapped.
It's a tough choice.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the shit that everyone loves to hate. Professional wrestling.
Ah, yes. The land of fake fighting and over-the-top storylines.
So is it real or is it fake?
Okay, look, let's be real. Pro wrestling is predetermined.
But you're telling me those guys aren't actually hurting each other.
Well, they're definitely putting their bodies on the line. Those moves, even though they're planned, still take a toll.
So it's like a choreographed fight scene in a movie.
Kind of. But they're still incredible athletes. They have to be in amazing shape to pull off those moves and take those bumps.
So it's athletic, but it's also a performance.
Exactly. It's about telling a story, creating characters, and keeping the audience entertained.
I guess that's why people love it so much. It's over the top, it's dramatic, it's pure entertainment.
And let's be honest, sometimes it's just plain fun to watch those guys beat the shit out of each other, even if we know it's not real.
So even though it's scripted, things can still get pretty intense, right?
Oh, yeah. Especially in the old days.
Yeah.
Those guys were tough as nails, and sometimes tempers flared.
So there have been times when pro wrestlers actually got into real fights.
It's happened, but it's rare these days. The business is more controlled now.
Okay, so what are the different flavors of pro wrestling?
Well, you've got your American style, like WWE, which is all about the big personalities, the crazy storylines, the spectacle.
That's the one my kids are obsessed with. It's like a soap opera for boys.
Yeah, it's definitely got that soap opera element. And then you've got British and European wrestling, which is a bit more grounded.
So less flash, more substance.
You could say that. And of course, there's Japanese puroresu, which is considered a legitimate sport in Japan.
Didn't you say that one was more realistic?
Yeah, they take their wrestling very seriously in Japan. The emphasis is on technical skill and hard-hitting action.
So no fake punches or phony storylines.
Not really. It's about athleticism and competition, pure and simple.
Sounds intense.
It is. Those Japanese wrestlers are some tough motherfucker.
All right, so we've got this whole spectrum of wrestling, from the super realistic to the completely over the top.
Yeah, it's a diverse world, that's for sure.
But how does all of this tie into the world of MMA? Is that wrestling stuff actually useful in a real fight?
You bet your ass it is. In fact, wrestling is arguably the best base for MMA.
Seriously, why is that?
Because it gives you control, man. A good wrestler can dictate where the fight goes, standing, clinch, or on the ground.
So it's not just about throwing guys around.
Yeah.
There's strategy involved.
Absolutely. A skilled wrestler can neutralize a striker, take them down, and control the fight on the ground.
So it's like a chess match, but with more body slams.
Exactly. You're thinking a few moves ahead, trying to anticipate your opponent's actions, and looking for opportunities to take them down or submit them.
Sounds like a recipe for some serious ass-kickings.
It is. That's why so many MMA champions have wrestling backgrounds.
Like who? Give me some names.
We're talking legends like Dan Severn, Randy Couture, Matt Hughes, Brock Lesnar.
Those are some heavy hitters. So basically, if you want to be a successful MMA fighter, you better learn how to wrestle.
No doubt about it. It's a fundamental skill, just like striking and submissions.
All right, so we've gone from cave paintings to ancient philosophers to modern-day cage fighters. It seems like wrestling has been around forever, and it's not going anywhere.
It's a timeless sport, man. It's about testing yourself, pushing your limits, and proving your dominance.
And let's be honest, it's also about some pretty fucked up shit. We're talking about crazy injuries, brutal moves, the kind of stuff that makes you cringe.
Oh yeah, wrestling can be brutal, but that's part of its appeal. There's something visceral about watching two people battle it out, pushing their bodies to the limit.
It's like a car crash. You don't want to look, but you can't help yourself.
Exactly.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back in a minute to break down even more of this crazy-ass world of wrestling.
Stay tuned, folks. We're just getting warmed up. So we're talking about how wrestling is the ultimate base for MMA, right?
Yeah, it seems like those grapplers have a serious edge in the octagon, man.
It's all about control.
So it's more than just takedowns.
Oh yeah, way more.
What is it about wrestling that gives them such an advantage?
Wrestling lets you decide where the fight goes, you know,
Okay.
standing, clinch, or on the ground.
So a skilled wrestler can, like shut down a striker
Pretty much, yeah.
and take them down.
Yep, and grind them out, man.
Interesting.
It's about dictating the pace, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Controlling the flow of the fight.
Right.
A
Yeah.
good wrestler can wear their opponent down, break their will, make them question their life choices.
So it's like psychological warfare as much as physical.
Yeah, man, it's a mindfuck.
All right, so we've got these wrestling beasts like Dan Severn and Randy Couture crushing it in the early UFC.
Those guys are animals.
But are we still seeing that wrestling dominance in modern MMA?
Absolutely, man. Wrestling is still a fundamental skill.
Okay.
And many of the top fighters, they have strong wrestling backgrounds.
You think so?
Oh, for sure.
Give me some examples.
Look at John Jones, arguably the GOAT at light heavyweight.
Yeah, John Jones, that dude's a beast.
He was an NJCAA wrestling champion, you know?
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
What about GSP?
Georges St. Pierre.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Oh, another legend for sure.
Amazing striker, well-rounded game.
He trained at this hardcore wrestling club in Montreal.
Wait, so GSP was a wrestler too?
Yep.
I had no idea.
His wrestling background was huge for his success, you know?
Interesting.
Helped him control the distance, the pace, takedowns at will.
So basically, if you want to be a top-level MMA fighter, got to know how to wrestle.
No doubt, man.
It's not just about takedowns either.
Right.
It's about the scrambling, the clinch work, the control.
That's it.
And you mentioned mental toughness earlier.
Yeah, wrestling builds that like nothing else.
We talked about how ancient philosophers were into wrestling.
Right.
They saw it as a way to train the mind and body.
They were onto something, man.
Do modern-day wrestlers still see that connection?
Absolutely, dude. Wrestling's brutal.
Oh, yeah.
It demands incredible, like, physical and mental strength.
Pushing yourself to the limit.
That's it, man.
You're constantly facing adversity.
Right. You got to learn to overcome the pain, the exhaustion.
Right.
That kind of training builds character.
Resilience.
Yeah.
A never give up attitude.
So it's like a metaphor for life.
It is, man.
You get knocked down, you get back up, you keep fighting. That's wrestling. That's life.
Right. And that mental toughness translates to other areas of life, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Academics, business.
Anything that requires discipline, perseverance, strong work ethic.
Because wrestling's not just about muscles and takedowns.
It's about so much more.
It's about building character.
That's it.
Mental fortitude.
Yep.
But let's be honest.
What's up?
It's also about some pretty fucked up shit.
Oh, for sure, man.
I'm talking about crazy injuries, brutal moves.
Yeah, wrestling is tough, no doubt.
Stuff that makes you cringe.
I've seen some nasty stuff over the years.
Oh, bad.
Broken bones, dislocated joints, concussions, the whole 9 yards.
Jesus.
But it's that raw intensity,
yeah.
that visceral intensity, that's what draws people in.
Right.
There's something captivating about watching two people just go at it.
Pushing their bodies to the limit.
That's it, man.
What's the craziest injury you've ever seen in a wrestling match?
Ooh, I've seen some bad ones, man.
Lay it on me.
But one that sticks out, pro wrestling match, this guy took a steel chair shot to the face.
Oh,
Went horribly wrong.
Jesus.
Chair caught him flush. His nose basically exploded.
Holy shit.
It was gnarly.
Did he ever wrestle again?
He did, actually.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, came back a few months later after they reconstructed his nose.
Jesus, these wrestlers are a different breed, man.
Oh, yeah, they're tough as nails.
Insane pain tolerance.
Yeah, and that dedication to their craft, it's unwavering.
All right, let's lighten things up a bit.
Sure.
We've talked about the brutality, the mental toughness, the crazy injuries.
Right.
What about the funny side of wrestling?
Oh, there's plenty of that, too.
There's gotta be.
Sometimes it's intentional, you know.
Yeah.
The over-the-top characters, the storylines.
Right.
But sometimes it's those unplanned moments.
Mm-hmm.
The botched moves, the awkward falls.
I love those.
Those are the best.
Those moments when things go wrong.
Yeah.
And you can see the wrestlers trying to improvise their way out of it.
Just trying to save face.
It's like a live-action cartoon, man.
It is.
Speaking of characters, let's talk about some of the legends of wrestling.
Oh, yeah. The icons.
Who are your all-time favorites?
Man, that's a tough one. So many greats.
Yeah, I know.
But gotta start with Luthez.
Luthez.
Yeah.
Not familiar with him.
He was one of the pioneers of pro wrestling.
Oh, wow.
Wrestled for over 40 years.
Damn.
Known for his technical skill, his toughness, no-nonsense approach.
Sounds like a badass.
Oh, he was a legitimate badass, man.
What about some other names?
You can't talk about wrestling without mentioning Ric Flair.
The Nature Boy. Woo!
That's the one.
That dude was a character.
Oh, yeah. Flamboyant, arrogant, entertaining as hell.
They had it all, man.
Charisma, the skills, the mic skills. He was an icon.
What about Hulk Hogan?
Hulk Hogan.
The guy who brought wrestling into the mainstream in the 80s.
Hulk Hogan was a phenomenon.
Yeah, he was larger than life.
A real-life superhero for kids and adults.
Love him or hate him, you can't deny his impact.
That's for sure.
All right, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about the weirder side of wrestling.
Oh, there's a lot of that.
I'm talking about the crazy gimmicks, the ridiculous storylines,
The stuff that makes you scratch your head.
the stuff that makes you wonder what the hell they were thinking.
Exactly.
Give me an example.
Okay, how about the Boogeyman?
The Boogeyman. What the fuck is that?
This dude was straight out of a horror movie.
Sounds scary.
He wore face paint, carried a staff with worms on it.
Worms.
Yeah, and he'd eat live worms during his entrance.
He ate worms, live worms.
Yep, it was disgusting.
Jeez,
But it got him over with the crowd.
I guess it's all about entertainment, right?
That's it, man.
No matter how fucked up it gets.
Wrestling is about pushing the boundaries,
Creating those larger-than-life characters.
giving the fans a spectacle.
Speaking of spectacles,
What's
the most ridiculous wrestling storyline you've ever come across?
Ooh, man, that's a tough one.
I'm talking about soap opera level drama, convoluted plots.
It's shit that makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember one storyline where this wrestler was kidnapped
Okay.
by a group of masked men
Right.
who claimed to be aliens.
Aliens.
Dead serious?
You're shitting me.
They had a whole spaceship set and everything.
What the fuck?
They were going to take this wrestler back to their planet
For what?
for some intergalactic wrestling tournament.
Okay, that's some next level bullshit.
Oh, yeah, it was wild.
Did they actually go through with the alien abduction?
Nah, it turned out to be a hoax.
Of course.
Orchestrated by a rival wrestler trying to sabotage the guy's career.
So it was all a setup.
The whole thing.
It wouldn't be wrestling without a good betrayal.
That's wrestling for ya.
Oh.
Full of twists and turns.
Over-the-top drama.
That's what keeps the fans coming back for more.
All right, let's wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've explored the history,
The techniques,
the personalities,
the injuries.
the humor, the sheer insanity of wrestling.
It's been a wild ride.
We've talked about serious stuff, funny stuff, everything in between.
Covered a lot of ground.
But there's one question that's been burning in my mind this whole time.
Oh. Lay it on me.
What the fuck is the deal with those tiny wrestling shorts?
Ah, yes. The thing...
The source of much speculation and amusement.
Indeed.
Seriously, those things leave nothing to the imagination.
They're pretty revealing, that's for sure.
Why do they wear them?
Well, there are a few reasons. First, practicality.
Okay.
The tight fit, it prevents opponents from grabbing the fabric.
Makes sense. You don't want to be giving your opponent an extra handle to yank you around with.
Exactly. That'd be unfair.
Right.
Second, freedom of movement.
Okay.
Wrestlers need to move quickly, fluidly.
Right.
Loose clothing would just get in the way.
So it's like a second skin, allowing for maximum agility,
That's it.
range of motion.
Yep.
But let's be honest, it also shows off those wrestler physiques.
They are in great shape. Got to give them that.
Those guys are ripped as hell.
Wrestling is demanding, man.
It is.
And those singlets, they do a good job of highlighting the athlete's hard work and dedication.
So it's not just about showing off.
No.
It's about showcasing the results of their training.
It's a badge of honor, man.
A symbol of their athletic prowess.
You got it.
Right, I'm starting to see the appeal of the singlet.
Yeah, they're not so bad once you get used to them.
But I think I'll stick to my baggy sweatpants.
Probably a good choice.
So what's the most important thing you've learned about wrestling during this deep dive?
For me,
Yeah.
it's the realization that wrestling is so much more than just a sport.
Okay.
It's a testament to human resilience,
Interesting.
a metaphor for life's struggles,
Okay, I'll talk about that.
and a form of art, really.
Art?
Yeah, it blends athleticism with storytelling.
Damn, that's deep, man.
I never thought of it that way before.
Wrestling teaches you about discipline, perseverance.
The importance of never giving up.
Even when you're facing those insurmountable odds,
That's it.
it's about pushing your limits both physically and mentally,
Coming out stronger on the other side.
and finding the strength to get back up after you've been knocked out.
Dust yourself off. Keep fighting.
All right, let's take a quick break.
Sure.
We'll be back soon for the final round of our wrestling extravaganza.
Don't miss it, folks. We've got more ground to cover, insights to share.
We're back for the final round of this wrestling deep dive.
We've explored the history, the techniques,
The personalities, the sheer madness.
all of it.
But you know what?
What?
There's one thing we haven't really talked about.
Oh, yeah.
The fans.
The fanatics.
What is it about wrestling, man,
Mhm.
that draws people in, keeps them coming back?
I think it's the combination, right?
Of what?
Athleticism, storytelling, raw emotion.
All that shit wrapped into one.
Yeah, those incredible athletes, right?
They're freaks.
Performing amazing feats of strength.
The agility, the whole 9 yards.
But it's not just about physical prowess.
Right.
There's a narrative, you know?
Oh, yeah.
A story that unfolds in the ring. Heroes, villains, triumphs, defeats.
The whole drama.
The fans get invested, man.
They do.
They cheer, they boo, they ride the emotional roller coaster.
It's like a soap opera with body slams.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
It's a form of live theater, the spectacle.
That blends athletic competition with dramatic performance.
And the fans?
Yeah.
They're an integral part of that spectacle.
They're a part of the show.
Their energy, their passion, their reactions.
It fuels the wrestlers.
Enhances the experience, for sure.
So it's like a back and forth.
Yeah.
This symbiotic relationship.
The wrestlers feed off the crowd gets swept up in the drama.
It's a beautiful thing, man.
And that connection,
Yeah.
between the wrestlers and the fans.
It's special. You don't see that in other sports.
Not to this degree, for sure.
It's like a tribe, a community.
A shared passion for this unique,
Often misunderstood form of entertainment.
that's a good way to put it.
Right. Wrestling fans, they're a passionate bunch.
Oh yeah, fiercely loyal to their favorites.
And they're not afraid to let you know what they think.
Not at all, man.
Cheering, booing, chanting signs.
They make their voices heard.
So what would you say to someone who dismisses wrestling as fake?
Fake.
Just entertainment.
Well, they're missing the point.
I think so too.
Yes, pro wrestling is predetermined,
Right.
but that doesn't make it any less demanding.
Or impressive.
The athleticism, the skill,
It's incredible, man.
who perform those moves safely,
Yes.
it's effectively, it's insane.
Right.
And the storytelling, the ability to connect with the audience,
Yeah.
evoke emotions, that's an art form.
It's like saying a movie is fake
Right.
just because the actors are following a script.
Exactly. Doesn't diminish the talent.
The effort, the emotional impact.
People connect with it, man.
So what's the future of wrestling?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Where do you see this sport going?
I think wrestling is constantly evolving,
Yeah.
adapting to new trends, new audiences.
So you think we'll continue to see this blurring of the lines
Yeah.
between traditional wrestling styles and that entertainment focus of pro wrestling?
Oh, for sure.
So more high-flying moves,
Possible.
more over-the-top characters,
Agreed.
more drama, more spectacle.
But I also think there's a growing appreciation for the technical skills,
Yep.
the athleticism of wrestling,
Right.
Seeing more young athletes coming in with backgrounds in other disciplines,
Like what?
gymnastics, martial arts, even parkour.
So they're bringing those skills into wrestling.
Yeah, it's evolving, man.
So the future of wrestling is this fusion
Yeah.
of athleticism, entertainment, global influences.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's an exciting prospect, man.
It is.
Wrestling has the potential to reach even wider audiences,
Oh, yeah.
continue to captivate people around the world.
It's a global phenomenon.
It's a sport with a rich history and a bright future.
I agree.
And who knows?
Right.
Maybe one day we'll see intergalactic wrestling tournaments. Now that would be something.
I'd pay to see that.
Me too.
All right, folks, that's it for our wrestling deep dive.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
We covered a lot of ground,
From ancient history to modern day entertainment.
explored the techniques, the personalities.
The triumphs, the
It
tragedies.
hopefully gave you a new appreciation for this unique.
Often misunderstood sport.
So next time you see a wrestling match,
Wherever it is.
high school gym, on TV, in a cage,
Remember,
there's more to it than meets the eye.
it's a sport that demands respect, admiration.
And a healthy dose of awe.
For sure.
First, importantly.
Yeah.
It's a sport that reminds us that no matter how many times life throws you down,
You can always get back up.
fight another day.
That's the beauty of wrestling, man.
It's a testament to the human spirit,
The will to persevere.
the enduring appeal of a good old-fashioned throwdown.
Can't beat that.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.
Stay greasy.